Have you ever found yourself eating when you are not truly hungry? Maybe after a stressful day, after conflict, after loneliness, or simply because the food was there. Perhaps you promised yourself tonight will be different, and yet somehow, almost automatically, you found yourself overeating again. Then afterward came the guilt, the shame, the self-criticism, and the painful belief, what is wrong with me? Today I want to discuss something extremely important. Emotional eating is often not simply a problem of food. It is frequently a problem of emotional regulation, stress tolerance, self-soothing, habit conditioning, exhaustion, loneliness, or even hopelessness. And understanding that distinction can begin changing everything. Many people struggling with emotional eating have already tried diets, strict rules, self-criticism, or repeated promises to have more willpower. But shame rarely heals emotional eating. In fact, shame often fuels it, because many people use food not only for pleasure, but for temporary emotional relief. Food can briefly reduce anxiety, numb sadness, provide comfort, create distraction, or produce a momentary sense of reward in an exhausting world. That does not mean someone is weak. It means they are human. Now, that does not mean we remove personal responsibility, but responsibility and self-hatred are not the same thing. One of the major mistakes people make is believing, if I feel ashamed enough, eventually I will change. But often the opposite happens. The person feels ashamed, then discouraged, then hopeless, and then returns to the very behavior that temporarily reduces emotional pain. This creates a painful cycle: stress, urge, overeating, guilt, self-attack, more emotional distress, and then more emotional eating. So how do we begin breaking this cycle? First, we learn to distinguish physical hunger from emotional hunger. Physical hunger tends to develop gradually. Emotional hunger often feels urgent. I need relief right now. Second, we begin identifying the beliefs that intensify emotional eating. Thoughts such as, I deserve this. I cannot tolerate this craving. One more won't matter. I already ruined the day. I need comfort now. In REBT, we would say many of these beliefs involve low frustration tolerance. I cannot stand this discomfort. But in reality, although urges may feel powerful, human beings are often more capable of tolerating discomfort than they realize. And that realization can become empowering. Another important shift is learning that a lapse is not the same as failure. One difficult evening, one buffet, one emotional eating episode does not erase progress. The all-or-nothing mindset often creates even more suffering. Now here's something even deeper. Sometimes emotional eating becomes stronger when life itself becomes emotionally narrow. When people feel exhausted, disconnected, chronically stressed, without joy, without meaning, without emotional nourishment, food can become one of the few remaining reliable comforts. This is why recovery is often not only about reducing unhealthy eating, it is also about building a larger life, a more meaningful life, a more connected life, a more emotionally fulfilling life, one where food no longer carries the entire burden of comfort, relief, reward, and escape. And that process takes time. So if you struggle with emotional eating, I want you to consider something carefully. You do not need perfection to make meaningful progress. You are not required to become flawless. The goal is not punishment. The goal is learning, awareness, emotional regulation, frustration tolerance, self-compassion, and intentional choice, not because you hate yourself, but because your life matters, and your future deserves more than living on automatic pilot. And watch for an upcoming in-depth Zoom lecture where I will discuss practical CBT and REBT strategies for understanding and reducing emotional eating without shame, blame, or extreme dieting approaches.